Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with the second round of my ultimate palette battle, the tournament. So a couple of weeks ago I did introduce this kind of project. I had done as part of this earlier in the year, but a lot of you guys wanted me to kind of pit my palettes against each other and pit the winners against each other, so I decided to make a tournament out of this. So I'm still on round one. I still have to get through all of my palettes. But today we're going to tackle the second round. So last time I did 8 rounds of palettes, so 16 palettes altogether. And today we're going to talk you through the next round of palettes. So I'm going to probably try to do another 8 rounds today, but we'll see how far I get. So before I jump into the palettes, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So I have my wheel right here, and it's still on Red Dragon, which is the last palette that I rolled, but I'm going to go ahead and roll for some new palettes. So we're just going to start with 2 palettes and see what palettes I get for round number 1. And we have the Moonlight Seduction palette, which is a Pat McGrath palette, against the Glam Light, Glam Face Light. It's so funny because in last round I had 2 Pat McGrath palettes, and both times they were pitted against Natasha Denona, and it's the same again. So I'm going to go and get those palettes, so the Moonlight Seduction and the Glam Face Light palette from Natasha Denona, and yeah, we'll see what I think of those. So here we have those 2 palettes. We have the Moonlight Seduction palette from Pat McGrath, which looks like this. It is a beautiful palette. And then we have this palette right here, which is the Glam Face Light palette. So it's the Glam Face palette, but in the light edition. So yeah, this is a difficult one again. The Pat McGrath palette is absolutely stunning, but it was another one that wasn't really on my radar before I got it. I bought this one off my friend very cheaply. I think I got this from I think she gave it to me for like £35, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for that, and that's kind of why I acquired this one. And it's a beautiful palette, but it's not my favorite Pat McGrath palette. Then we have the Glam Face palette, which I got last year for my 30th birthday from my boyfriend, or fiance now. But this is the palette right here. It has some beautiful everyday colors, and the shimmers are absolutely amazing. They're some of the best from Natasha Denona, and this is a really difficult one. If I had to declare one of these, which one would it be? This is probably one of the hardest rounds yet, you guys. I feel like my gut is telling me to keep this palette, but it makes me I feel devastated if I had to declutter this palette. But I think I'm gonna stick with my gut, and I'm gonna pick the Natasha Denona Light Face palette, the Glam Face palette Light, for my winner, because this is a perfect everyday palette, and it has perfect everyday cheek products as well as the eyeshadows. And yeah, I just love this palette. That's a hard one, guys, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with this palette for the winner, and the Moonlight Seduction palette is gonna be eliminated. That is really difficult, but just looking at it, it doesn't have my favorite special shades. It's a beautiful palette, but yeah, I'm not going to do a lot of it anymore because I'm going to regret my choice. But this one was a hard one. This was probably the hardest one yet in the tournament so far. So we're going to pick 2 more palettes for the next round. And the first one we're going to get is the Mini Gold, another Natasha Denona, but it's a mini palette, versus the Utopian Dream, another Pat McGrath palette. So again, quite funny, because every time I get one of these 2 palettes, a Pat McGrath palette or a Natasha Denona palette, they seem to be pitted against each other, which is funny because a lot of people are team Pat McGrath, some people are team Natasha Denona, so it's just funny that these are always pitted against each other in my tournament, but that's fine. In this case, it's very easy for me which wins. This is the Mini Gold palette right here. It has a lot of love because this was my product level up level 5 palette last year, so I had kind of all of the shades, and I do like this palette a lot. Yeah, I love these Harbour Greens, so this one I love a lot. But it does not compare to this palette right here, which is the Utopian Dreams palette. It was my first Pat McGrath palette, also a gift from my boyfriend, very grateful. But yeah, I love this palette. It's still to this day my favorite Pat McGrath palette. It was my first one. It's still my favorite. I love the special shades in here. I love the mattes. I love this palette a lot. So easy choice here. This one is going to proceed and this one is going to be eliminated. Okay, so for round number 3, we're going to go and get the Hey Reindeer palette. Okay, that is Odin's Eye palette versus the Sunrise palette from Natasha Denona. So not Natasha Denona, not against Pat McGrath this time, but yeah, I'm gonna go get those palettes and show you. So here we have those 2 palettes. We have the Sunrise palette from Natasha Denona, looks like this, very beautiful color story, versus Hey Reindeer from Odin's Eye, one of my newer palettes again. This one is quite difficult. I love the color story in here, but the quality isn't the best. Natasha Denona is probably one of my least favorite Natasha Denona palettes when it comes to quality. I think the Love palette is worse, but yeah, it's down there. So that's this palette. And then this one here has some absolutely beautiful shimmers. The sparkles in here are outstanding. Love this palette for that. And the mattes are pretty good. They're not the best, but it probably is better quality than this palette. It's hard though, because I love the tones in here. I love the richness of these colors. But this has some of my favorite shimmers. If I had to declare one, I think if I had to declare one, it actually would be the Pat McGrath, the Natasha Denona palette. I think I would declare this one, which means that the Hey Reindeer palette wins. And that might just be because this one is new to my collection. It feels fresher, it feels more fun, it feels exciting still. But yeah, this is going to be the winner, and the Sunrise palette is going to be the loser, which shocks me, but that's what I'm going to stick with. Okay, I'm going to keep it going, and I'm going to pick 2 more palettes. So we're going to go with the Paris Edit palette from Viseart versus the Love Notes palette from Beauty Bay. 2 pink tone palettes, but I'm going to get those and show you what they look like. Also very big, different sizes. Let me get them. So here we are with those 2 palettes. And again, like I said, massive size difference. This has 12 shades and this has 20, but still the size difference. So looking at these 2 palettes, we have the Viseart palette right here. And then we have the Beauty Bay palette right here. So with these 2 palettes, they have like similar vibes, but still not. This is definitely more muted, more like everyday. This is a bit more out there, a bit more sparkly, things like that. And I think that's why I'm going to pick this one, because it is more sparkly. And yes, it does have some more everyday shades, but it's also like has a lot of pastels that I don't have elsewhere in my collection. I have gotten some more pastels recently, but overall I don't have too many pastels. So this one here, I think I would keep, and then this palette here is beautiful. I do love this one, especially for like travel palettes, to take some of these out and bring with me, because they take up no space, or even like on its own. But I feel like which one would I be more excited to reach for like every day? I think it would be like this one, or like which one would be more exciting to reach for? I think this one, because of the sparkly shimmers. So that's why this one wins. So let's move on to the next round, and we're going to pull 2 more palettes. We have the Filter palette, which is from Rowan, the Filter Quad, versus Merry Christmas, my last Odin's Eye palette. Let me get those 2 and I'll show you the palettes. So I'm back, and I got a little bit confused looking for my palettes because I actually misnamed the Rowan Quad. This is the quad that I fought, but it's called Eyes on Me. It's just one of the shades called Filtered. The first shade in the palette is called Filtered, but that is the quad right there from Rowan. And this is the Merry Christmas palette from Odin's Eye. This is actually currently my Part Level Up palette, but I only have been working on it for a little bit. It's actually also the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today, which is nice. But yeah, these are the 2 palettes. And it's an obvious winner for me again. It's going to be the Odin's Eye palette, because this is just way more variety. It has like the sparkly shades that I love. It has some colorful shades. It has some more neutral shades. Like today, like I said, it's this palette and it's more of a neutral look. But I can also get some really beautiful colorful looks from this. and I really do like this palette a lot. It is also very new to me. I just now started playing around with it in my part level up, but I have been loving this palette so far, so that's going to be the winner. With the Rowan Quad, I haven't used it too much, to be honest. I think I've used all the shades once, and that's it. And it's a nice palette. It's like a nice little quad, and Rowan has really great quality, but yeah, it's not special enough for me to beat out a massive palette like that I know that I love. So yeah, this one is getting eliminated, and the Merry Christmas palette is the winner for this round. So that's 5 rounds. We have 3 more to go, so let me go and pull the next 2 palettes. We have the Club Nebula palette from Kaleidos versus the At Foresight palette from Colourpop with Raw Beauty Christie. So here we have those 2 palettes, 2 colorful palettes, 2 like rich kind of color stories. Here we have the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette. Looks like this, and then here is the At Foresight palette, very different type of undertones. So this is way more warm tone, this is more cool toned. Also 2 discontinued palettes, but yeah, these 2 are the next round. Again, for me, this is going to be an easy winner. I do like this palette a lot, but the Club Nebula is definitely going to win. And I really love the colors in here. They're very dark, but also still vibrant. The shimmers are super sparkly, super nice. They're like duochromes as well. And yeah, I love this palette very, very much. And I said that over and over again on my channel. So there's no surprise here that this one is winner. This one will probably beat out a lot of palettes, to be honest. And this one, even though it is a nice palette, it's not like an absolute favorite in my collection. So again, it's an easy choice for this round. Okay, let's put 2 more palettes out. We have the Mini Biba from Natasha Denona. Let's see if I get another Pat McGrath palette. Probably not, but we'll see. Mini Nude. Okay, we actually got 2 Natasha Denona palettes, 2 mini palettes as well. So let me get those. So here we have those 2 palettes. We have the Mini Nude palette, which looks like this, and then the Mini Biba palette, which looks like this. So both of them are like neutral kind of palettes. This is more kind of pure neutrals, a little bit more warm toned if anything. And this one here is a bit more peachy on the undertone, things like that. I do probably prefer the undertone in this palette. I just love these type of shades. However, I think this palette is better because it has more variety when it comes to shimmers. I feel like the 2 end shades on this palette are very similar. Not exact, but they're very similar. And the shimmer in the center isn't my favorite. Whereas with this palette, you have 3 shimmers. You have 1 deep matte, 1 translucent shade, and then you have 3 options for shimmers. Whereas 1 is in the corner and 2 like kind of lid shades for me. So even though I like the undertones of this one better, this one has more variety, and it's also like a better made palette when it comes to the color story. So the Mini Nude is going to be my winner for this round, and the Mini Biba is going to be eliminated. So let's do one last round. This is the 8th round for this video. So let's do one last round and see what I get for that. We have the Eternal Eclipse palette from Luna Beauty, and let's see what the second palette is going to be. The Child palette from Colourpop. I'm just going to let you guys have a guess which one is going to win the last round, because I already know, and I think a lot of you guys already know too. But let me pull those 2 palettes out. So here we have those 2 palettes. We have the Child palette from Colourpop, and then the Eternal Eclipse palette from Luna Beauty. So did you guys guess which one is going to win? It's of course going to be the Child palette. I love this palette. I have spoken about it again and again and again on my channel. It's one of my favorite palettes in my collection, and you can see it has a lot of love. Yeah, I love the greens in here that are my favorite type of greens. I love every single look that I make with this palette. And you have like the mix of neutral, which works really well with the greens, but you can also make like full green looks. And this is like my kind of everyday green palette. If I want to do like an everyday green look, this is it. I feel like they're almost like neutrals for me. Love that palette a lot. So this is definitely going to be the winner. Then for this palette, it is nice. It is like, it has some beautiful mattes, especially. Like I love the tones of the mattes in here, but it also has a lot of deep shades, which I don't love. But it is like one that I didn't expect to like as much as I do. But it's not like an absolute favorite. I could definitely live without this palette. So again, it's going to be an easy choice for the last round, which means that we're going to like wrap up this video on a bang with an absolute favorite right here. So that is going to be it for this round. I think I have done 16 rounds altogether, so that's 32 palettes. So 8 in this video and 8 in my first part, which I will have linked down below. I should have mentioned that in the beginning of the video, but I will have it linked down below. The next part is probably going to be the last battle out for round number 1. And then after that, we're going to move in to round 2, where we're going to pit all the winners against each other and take it from there. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of this series so far, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye guys!